Let me bang.
I do let you bang. Hey,
let me bang you, James, man.
I let you bang. I let you bang.
Greetings, marriage and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No forget Jesus, people.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Hey, welcome to a brand new MMA Roasted Podcast. Me, Adam Hunter. I'm here with my man, Greg Romero Wilson. It's gonna be a great show. We got Don Fry, who had successful surgery. He went to, hopefully he actually comes. Says he's coming. So I probably have to text him and be like, hey, Fry, we're starting. Sometimes he doesn't know when, like what time it is when he's like in the same state. So
Well, that's the thing about Arizona is their time frame versus they don't do daylight savings. So sometimes they're on the same time as California, and then sometimes they're an hour later than California. And so and you know what? The worst is, and this has happened to me before, when you don't realize that the time difference is on, and you're traveling to do a gig, and then you cross the state line, and you're now an hour late for the fucking show.
100%, and then you're just staring at your phone. Like you betrayed me, or I'm looking at it, waiting for it to come back.
It's the worst. And it's happened to me like 4 times when I'm like, I'll be there, I'll make it in time. And they're like, oh my God, I gotta. And then it's like I literally like drive up, park the car, and have to go in and do an hour. Oh, not good.
Kind of reminds me when my wife, the first time she got pregnant, she was like 2 months. We were dating for like 2 months, and she texted me like her pregnancy test. It's basically a screenshot of it. It says I'm pregnant, and I kept looking at it as if it was going to change, but it was not even like, I kept looking at like the picture. I kept looking at the picture. I must know I'm talking about her because literally she's calling right now from France. So I just kept staring at it. So anyway, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Had a great weekend of shows up there at Laughs and in Laughs Unlimited in Sacramento, and had a great show in Chico, which apparently some MMA Roasted fans came out and were at the show. And you know what? They never tell me that they're fans of the show till after the show. And I'm like, I wish you'd tell me before the show, because then I would do some of the voices, that they enjoy hearing during the show. They're like, oh, you didn't do the one we're talking about
Hector Jr.
Hector Lombard, Hector Jr. or Don Fry, Greg Fry, or any of these. They love these voices, and I love doing them. But I'm like, well, if you would have told me before the show, hey, we're fans, I would have thrown some of that in there. So I never know, and I always feel bad that I don't give them a little bit more of the stuff from this podcast. So that was fun. And then when we got to Friday night, this was the best part. I want everyone, I'm going to tell you this story, and then the video is on my IG. The club made a great edit of it, because what happened was the girl that was opening the show, she's from that area, Sacramento, and she's talking about her, and she's this lesbian gal named Sydney Steigerts, and she's talking about how her mom is a teacher, a high school teacher there, and how she's been single her whole life. She's like, neither my mom or me has had any dick in 25 years. And they're like, who's your mom? She's like, they're like, oh, we had someone in the audience is like, oh, we had Mrs. Steigerts at our school.
Oh no.
And they're like, wait a minute, you know Mrs. Steigerts? And the girl in the audience goes, yeah, and Miss Steigerts was a hoe.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she's like, what? What are you talking about? And
that's hilarious.
And she goes, what high school? Did you go to Center? And they're like, Center High School? We're all teachers at Center High School. And they start going bananas. And she's like, no, like, yeah, she was a hoe and all this. And she's like, what? Okay, so then the next my feature comic comes out, Kalea, who's a black lesbian comic, very funny, super awesome. So 2 lesbians and Greg. So then so Kalea gets up there and she goes, first of all, ain't nobody better say my mom's a hoe, or I'll fucking check you, right? Okay, so then she does that. Then I come out and I'm like, and I say, yes, I am the 3rd lesbian comic on the show. Okay, and then I go and start asking them about this Mrs. Steigert stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what makes you think she's a hoe? Who was she fucking that made her hoe? And they were like, oh, the whole football team.
The teacher
And the football team. So I'm like, oh! So then I do a thing where I'm like, and you were wondering why that team won state. What motivation? And then I do this thing like, go team, like her jerking off the whole team. And like, you guys got this, big game. And the audience went wild. So there's an edit of it. The club caught all three on camera and put an edit of the whole progression of it. If you want to see it, it's on my IG at Greg Romero Wilson. It was so hilarious and wild. It really was just so much fun.
Nothing like pedophilia to bring the whole, place together.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny when it goes from her on dudes. It's almost like
Well, yeah, it's funny you talked. That's hilarious. It's funny that you talked about our fans, because I usually know who the fans are because it's usually by themselves. And they're wearing like a pride shirt or some type, and I can just tell, and they look like they haven't been out like to anything social, and this is like pre-quarantine, or
guess I just don't notice that much. I don't pay attention.
Or they're with a girl that does not want to be there. Like it's like annoyed that like this is the guy that this person listens to. Like you can just tell they're usually with like a couple exceptions here and there, but for a lot of times it's like, and they're laughing and they're loving it. That's the thing about podcasts. Personally, I think that like being a good comic is being a good comic, and being a good podcaster is being a big podcaster. And sometimes now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you want to get booked on my comedy show? How many podcast followers do you have? And a lot of times people are disappointed because they're like, oh, this guy's the funniest person on the podcast. They go there, they're like, what the fuck? These are the same 5 stories this person told on the podcast. This is not a comedy show, yada, yada. However, it does like when someone listens to you for an hour a week or 2 hours a week, they do feel like they know you. So a lot of times jokes that like they feel like they're in on the joke every time. They're laughing.
Yeah.
Just dying laughing, And I think that's why like, McCorkle, I know not to bring up your best friend Brandon Schaub, but because he was touring in front of his crowds, they felt
absolutely. When you're already playing to your fans, that's no challenge. They're gonna love you. I mean, I call it celebrity leeway. I mean, when they think when you're famous to them, they'll let you drone on and on and on, waiting for any semblance of a punchline.
But that's the thing. It's like when you're talking to your fans, they're dying laughing, and you're getting not necessarily a false sense of comedy, but they're just laughing. Then all of a sudden, your stuff goes on Showtime. People who are not your fans are watching it, and they're like, wait, why, what's so funny? What am I watching here? And I think that's kind of what happened in that first special is people that were not fans of the podcast were like, I'm not in on, I don't understand this. Or people that listen to him every week were like, this is fucking great. This is the guy that I listen to. Like, anyway.
Well, I don't know that anybody thought that, but I did hear, I heard Bill Maher. They asked, Howard Stern asked Bill Maher, who I can't stand, either of them really, but I can't stand Bill Maher, but he said, they asked if he ever gets nervous before he goes on one of the shows. He goes, no, because everybody there is already a fan. He said, I'm not going around touring with new people showing up to my show. He said, if they paid $50 or $100 for my ticket, they already know what I'm about. They know me. They, support me. He said, so I don't have to impress anybody, and he does a good job of not impressing anyone.
No, one of the bad things about podcasting is it used to be back before, I guess, even the internet, but like you would see how good a person was by like they would go to the Comedy Cellar or they go to this or some a really good club, and some guy that had a lot of TV credits or had some type of other success would go on after a really strong comic and get buried, and then it would be a huge wake up call. But those things don't really happen anymore because those comics don't have to go there anymore. And they're like, fuck that. I'm not going to a place where I got to follow X, Y, and Z. I'm just going to go and do my show. And that's, whatever. I mean, as much as like, I hate to be that dick, there was something kind of fun about watching a comic that never had to really go through those like hard knocks that would then follow a really good comic. You're like, oh shit. Then,
it was a deep pleasure. What are they? Fraudenfreude. What is it?
I know what you mean.
Schadenfreude, where you derive pleasure from someone else's pain, and that's what it would be like because they go up there acting like. And you saw this a lot. I'll tell you, the club that did this a lot was the Laugh Factory. The Laugh Factory, if you were famous, they would put you on stage. They didn't give a fuck. But then sometimes you would have to follow, you know, a Dane Cook or a Joe Coy or a Adam Hunter or Greg Wilson. And you would and watching them struggle was a delight. Michael Richards, before he got busted with that whole thing, you know, he used to do it all the time. And I would say 6 times out of 7, he would bomb.
Yeah.
And then one time he would do pretty good because everyone's like, oh my God, Michael Richards, you know, but usually he would get up there and just struggle. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't deserve to be here right now. You don't deserve to be on that stage. You know, you didn't earn your place up there through stand-up. And so it was always kind of a lot of fun watching him just fall face first down the mountain, you know?
Right. You know, 100%. So we did our show. I did the show at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
LA Comedy Club last week. So basically I was like, I pitched Dana an idea of, let's do a comedy show where I'll host it and close it. So I'll bookend it, do 20 up front, 20 on the back, and then time in between. And we'll have fighters on because people aren't going on Fight Pass. I want to see fighters. So I picked Chael, Henry Cejudo, and Dean Thomas. Those are the comics.
And you've worked with all 3 before already. Like you've coached them up, haven't you?
No. Dean I've seen do comedy plenty of times. So he's done.
I know you specifically coached up both Henry and Dean and Chael at one point.
No, the only one that I worked with was Chael. I worked with another huge comic right now who's touring. I'm not sure wants me to say that now. Who's killing it on the road. But no, a huge fighter. But Henry was the guy that me and Henry sat down and we worked on his stuff, right? And I always like and Henry killed because he was nervous. Both him and Chael were sweating. Like Chael had to give Henry a massage in the back to like calm him down.
Had to. Okay.
He went up there.
I've got a lot of massages in my life. None of them were a must. Okay. No one had to.
And the happy ending, I think, was his idea. But it was one of those things where, dude, it was so much fun because my first special on Fight Pass was during COVID. And they put the apex, it was 200 people that fit, but they only going to have 30 because they had to cap it at 50 and 20, whatever. Everyone was wearing masks. They were 6 feet ahead, away from each other, no drinks. And then the crowd was like, it was Brendan Moreno with like 9 guys from Tijuana who were great, but I'm not sure if a lot of them spoke English. And then it was Mike Perry in the front with his pregnant girlfriend. Like, who was literally 4 feet from me.
Who, let's be honest, we're not sure he speaks English either. But.
Right, I was going to say his girlfriend, you know, which, you know, or some might say hostage, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was her like conservator, I guess. And then it was Dana, and everyone was wearing masks. Like, so it was one of those things where I'm like, man, I've done enough road shit gigs where like, but this is not what I had an idea. Like I pulled it off, but holy shit. So and then there was a lot of people from like accounting, people just got like, hey, what are you doing? Come here. You know, people were walking by, come sit down and watch a comedy special. This one was like, I packed it with all fight fans. There was Misha Tate was there, who I just grilled, but in a fun way. Jake Shields. Like, Misha Tate was in labor for 72 hours, which is like one Jake Shields fight. And then I was like, Jake, you put so many men in the hospital after your fight to get a plan B. Like, I just fucking was killing. Aljamain was there.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, Aljamain, act happier. You're obviously really great at acting. Like, just killing. And it was so much fun. And then there was Natan Levy, who's Israeli, sitting like 3 feet away from Bilal Muhammad, who's Palestinian. So I was like, are you guys going to be okay? There's like thousands of years right now. But it was awesome. Like it was, I hope they edit it right. I'm sure they will, but it was one of those things where I was like, yes, fucking, you know, this is exactly, because I had like 20 minutes of MMA jokes that I'd never done before, like out loud. Yeah. That was the hard part. Because, you know, Greg, I mean, you do 3 new minutes, it's hard. But when you do 20 minutes taped in front of a full crowd that you've never, like, normally I don't have to practice my jokes. Like I practice them once or twice and then I kind of like, out. But it was fun because I was like, John Morgan was there, who's always has, you know, John Morgan, the writer, and he's always like, that's not making Fight Pass, or that was so good.
Let me ask you this. Can you see Aljamain doing this in the future? Because he's got personality. He's a pretty funny guy. I could, you know, do you think maybe he was kind of scoping it out to see if he could do it too?
I asked him to do it. He was not going to be in Vegas at the time. He got hurt. He hurt his neck. And then
maybe.
Yeah, a lot of guys. I think Juliana Pena wants to do one. The next one, Daniel Cormier.
Cool.
A lot of fighters. And I told Henry, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to let you go up there. Like, we're going to get you ready. You know?
Dude, we have to do the flip side of this now, and they have to train us to fight each other.
That'd be awesome.
That is really just an and really they should be a companion to fighters doing comedy and comics fighting. We got it all on Fight Pass.
That's hilarious.
You can get neither with Brandon Schaub.
Exactly. I hope they do, please.
So let's
Yeah,
talk
because
about
he's not good at comedy or fighting. That's what I was getting at. All right, never mind.
let's talk about Brandon Schaub, by the way, because right now
I love it when McCorkle explains the joke as if no one got it.
When there's no laughter, I just assume maybe they don't understand. So
That's not usually what that means.
I just like at this point. So Brandon Schaub is fighting with Ariel Helwani. They're going at it on. And I talked to RJ Clifford, by the way, who helped with the podcast, by the way, who helped with my show on Fight Pass. Did a great job. The thing about like when like people talk shit to each other, fighters, there's always a fight at the end. So it's like interesting. But when two like now personalities do it, you know, Brandon Schaub is not going to fight Ariel Helwani, and there's sort of like you're like, why am I invested in this? Plus I kind of felt like Ariel was like killing Brandon Schaub so much that I felt like I was being attacked. He's like,
dude,
he's like,
that was so brutal. I don't even know if I would have felt comfortable saying it. Like that was some of the realest, most hurtful stuff. He's like, let's be honest, you do see it all and it affects you. I was like, holy shit. Like he got real, man.
He's like, how's your...
Oh, he did. He like stopped the whole... Yeah, there was not even a show at that point. He was he was like, you know what? I didn't want to say it, but here it comes. And the thing that amazed me was that it was 3 hours into the... Like, how long is this? Who is listening to a 3 hour... And then it's not like there's a co-host or other... And he's so boring. I didn't even finish the part I was interested in, which was him beating up on Schaub. I was just like, who can listen to this for 3 hours without falling asleep while driving and running off the road? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't understand what the beef's even about. I'm not even sure what, because Brandon Schaub said he was fired. Oh, even if he was fired, who gives a fuck if he was fired? I've been fired from every job I've ever had.
Well, this podcast has been on like 9 different networks. I mean,
I talked to Ariel in depth about it. I know what it's all about if you want a quick synopsis.
All right, give me a synopsis. Talk to me.
Brandon Schaub has been trashing Ariel here and there, just repeating anything Joe Rogan says. And Joe Rogan had originally said that Ariel Helwani promised he wouldn't release the Brock Lesnar info, that the UFC gave it to him, and then he released it anyway, which isn't what happened. Someone close to Brock gave it to Ariel, and Ariel tweeted it out before they could announce it at UFC 199, which I was at UFC 199. I'll be honest with you. When they announced it, no one cared. Like, it was just, everybody was just like, oh, Brock's going to fight again. Cool. Like, no, the crowd didn't go crazy or anything when they brought the little video out. But
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were there. Yeah. So
you were there too, Greg.
Nobody cared. So then, but Schaub has been saying nonstop. It's all over this whole piece. They wrote some guy at Bloody Elbow wrote a piece about MMA, like about Joe Rogan. Is it needed now, like for the UFC, blah, 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 which is dumb because it's obviously funner with Rogan on it than it is not. But then Brandon Schaub, of course, has to try to equate himself with Rogan in every way possible. So he's like, when you attack someone like super famous like me or Joe Rogan, he's like, when guys like me and Rogan are so rich, we don't care what you say, or whatever. And like he just tries to put himself in the same class over and over again. So he attacks Ariel, saying that MMA media, and he starts saying he has to have 17 guests on his show, which if we got a 3-hour show, you probably do have to have 17 guests. But Ariel called him out on all his stupidity, like he pays people to go eat tacos with him. It was amazing. I loved it.
Got it.
I didn't even have a dog in the fight, besides I can't stand Brandon Schaub.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like you definitely had a dog in the fight.
I have a $10,000 dog in the fight.
I think you have a dog in every fight.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, I mean, whatever. Anyway, boxing match. Did you guys watch the fight? The big boxing?
I did on a stream that someone sent me that was nice. Like, that was a really high quality stream.
Got it. Man, I kind of felt bad for Wilder. I did. I was hoping Wilder would win. Look, there really should be 2 weight classes in this heavyweight boxing, because Wilder was like 225. The other guy was 275. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of like, yeah, he won, but he's 50 pounds bigger.
Well, they did used to have super heavyweight.
Right.
There used to be a super heavyweight division specifically for this. But again, obviously, as boxing completely declined in interest around the world, then they kind of just did away with it.
But Tyson Fury is not human. I mean, it was an awesome fight, probably the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen. And I don't understand. Tyson Fury is just one of the, like, when he got knocked out that first fight and just came up, like, he was knocked out. Like, his eyes were closed.
like the Undertaker. He just rises up.
Eyes just opened up and sat up. I'm like, this dude is not human. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Me? Great.
Yeah, you.
No, yeah, that was crazy because I really thought he was out there. I'll tell you, I wouldn't feel too sorry for Deontay Wilder, though. Save your sympathy for me because I had $100 on Wilder winning. $100 on Wilder winning both in the fourth, fifth, or all three, sixth round that paid between 40 and 80 to 1. So I was looking at 4,000, 6,000, or 8,000. And as soon as he knocked him down the second time, I was like, dude, this fight's over. Like, even if the fifth round's going to be over. And then, I mean, my logic was that Wilder was going to have to end it early if he was going to win. So I bet Tyson to win, Fury to win by decision. And then I lost that bet too. Then the other ones where I bet he'd win in the fourth, fifth, and sixth. I didn't think he'd have the power to knock him out after that. So I buy it. Of course, there was like a 17-second count on that second knockdown, which stunk. But had they counted correctly, I would have won $6,000. So.
Why is nobody bringing that up? I thought afterwards it was going to be like the Tyson. Was it Tyson versus when
Buster Douglas?
Buster Douglas. Everyone's like, oh, the count. Why is no one bringing up the slow count?
Dude, it was easily, 14 seconds? At least. I counted 14. So, I don't know.
But it was amazing. And
but you're also counting like someone who's about to lose money.
He's like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why is he still not wearing the counting?
You got a point there. I once again had a $10,000 dog in the fight.
Oh, my God.
In case you didn't hear that the first time.
But Tyson Fury, I mean, I don't know who's going to beat him unless he does drugs again and, balloons up to whatever, 500 pounds and parties too much like the last time. Who's going to beat this guy?
I think Anthony Joshua could beat him, but I don't think he will. But I think he's got what it takes to do it. So.
But here's when I thought Deontay Wilder had a problem. He went into the fight going, look, all I got to do is I just need one, be perfect for 10 seconds to knock him out. He basically, his last couple fights of like, I don't care how many rounds I lose because eventually I'm going to catch you. That's got to be one of the worst game plans in any –
terrible strategy.
It seems like that's like the Black Beast strategy. That's Wilder. Like, why not try to win the rounds? And then if you knock him out, great. If not, whatever. But he just gets completely tired trying to land that big haymaker.
Dude, he's got two punches, a step jab to the body and the right hand that he hesitates 6 times before he throws it, like walking towards you. Like,
yeah. Oh, right.
Swing, but it was frustrating.
Now, if you were training Wilder, what would you tell him?
I think, he didn't start boxing until he was 19 or 20 years old, something like that. Like, ended up getting a bronze medal in the Olympics. So he's really athletic. But I think at this point, he's 35. He is who he's going to be. It's hard to pick up anything when you don't start until that late, especially boxing, But he's athletic enough. If he had a good jab, it'd change everything, but he doesn't. He's got a right hand, and that's it. And unfortunately, when you fight 35 to 40 bums on your way up, and the right hand always works, it's kind of like me with submissions when I'm fighting until I get to the UFC. And I'm like, oh, turns out this guy isn't 400 pounds and has never fought before. So yeah, that's you get that.
All right. So over the 2 days ago, Chuck Liddell got arrested. You hear what happened? Right?
Yeah. What did he do? Did he get in like another street fight with somebody?
No, it was domestic violence.
Oh.
Well, the cops came and arrested him. Now, according to him, he was the one getting beat up by his wife. The cops came and said, we have to bring somebody in. So he took the fall, and he got arrested because they had to bring somebody in.
Adam, I'll be honest with you. I saw his fight with Tito Ortiz, and that might be true. I'm not saying he wasn't trying to win, but his wife may have got the better of him and dropped.
Now, I thought when I first read this, I'm like, is that how this works? Like, so they have to.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they have to take somebody in. I think that's fundamentally not true.
According to the comment under it, those are the rules. People are like.
That's a law now. That's a law. If they go out for domestic violence, somebody calls, someone has to be arrested because otherwise you got women like my ex-wife who call the police every time they don't get their way. Like they don't let you say something they don't like, I'll call the cops, or whatever.
Well, and I think the other part of that is if they leave and then something bad happens that's worse, then I can see where this would be true because if you're like, okay, you guys are fine, then something really bad happens, you got to come back. Now you're suing the city, saying you were there but you didn't take action, and I think it probably is just a matter of making sure there's a cooling off period before you leave these two people alone together again. So I can see where that had become a rule, especially, we're such a litigious society and people look for any reason to sue any municipality and it ends up costing them a fortune. I can see where that's become a thing.
So, I mean, but you know what? Whoever came up with that excuse, whether it's true or not, is brilliant because now everyone's like, you're a great guy.
Right.
It's so noble of you. I hope she gets help. It seems like that should, but
I think it's just Chuck Liddell once again trying to outdo John Jones. Like, really, you can get in trouble? I can get arrested and be the victim. So how do you like that?
Listen, that is an achievement for a fighter to be like, she's beating me, sir.
So, well,
I know I'm a trained fighter, world champion, yes. But my wife is whooping my ass. All right. I don't know. Maybe.
I feel bad for the family because I've met the kids before. It's a really, really sweet family. So I hope they get the help. But, man, and they live in Hidden Hills, too, which is that is the nicest.
Which makes it harder for the cops to find their house.
Oh, my God.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Exactly.
I know. It was sitting out there for so long. I'm like, anyone going to pick this up? Nobody else?
Have you been to Hidden Hills,
Right.
Have you been to Hidden Hills?
No.
Oh, Hidden Hills.
It's
like a gated community where Kanye, Chris Brown, Russell Peters was living there, Tori and Dean, it's a really beyond expensive. Chuck Liddell, it's crazy there.
So domestic abuse should be a regular thing for that community. They shouldn't have any problem with that if they've got Chris Brown and Kanye and everybody else.
I was going to say, so they knew the neighborhood pretty well.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the cops went to the wrong house first. And I'm so sorry. We're used to coming to this house. I guess we're going to a different house. It's not Chris Brown's house?
It's
it's not Kanye's house.
There's a school there, and it's its own thing. Hidden Hills is ridiculous. It's where the rich people live.
Plus Chuck Liddell.
Right. Exactly. Oh, wow.
Dude, his house is insane. Have you seen his house? He did very well for himself, Chuck Liddell.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sure listen, he's a world famous fighter. I'm sure he did quite well.
Yeah. I met him at Russell Peters' house. He was telling me a really funny story about Kevin Randleman. When Randleman was fighting Crow Cop, he was with Mark Coleman, and the night before the fight, they went up to Chuck Liddell, and they're like, what do we do tomorrow? What should we do? And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, we don't really have a plan. Any advice? And then Chuck was like, you want to go all the way in or all the way out against Crow Cop? And then the next day, Randleman knocked him out in 30 seconds. Literally, that they had no plan.
It sounds like they
makes it hard. Makes it hard for your opponent to scout you when you have no plan.
Yeah.
What's he planning on doing? Even he doesn't know. We'll see.
And then,
our plan is to get on the bus to the thing at about 12:30. We'll be there at about 1. And we're going to tape his wrist and we look forward to the fight. That's the plan.
Dude, Randleman's wife, I spoke to Randleman's wife, Elizabeth, nicest woman ever. She's 6'3", Italian from Brooklyn, has that thick Brooklyn accent, the coolest person. She was telling me one time Kevin had a fight, and right before the fight, he's about to walk out, and he goes, "Oh, my corner didn't show up. Will you walk out with me?" And she's like, "No, there's 25,000 people." He's like, "I don't have a corner." So then she's like, "You motherfucker!" So she's walking out in a deer in headlights, going, "What the fuck?" And then he goes, "Oh, I don't have a cup." So she has to go back and ask Dan Henderson, "Hey, can we use your cup?" Which of course
oh God.
And a mouthpiece. They had
oh my God. But the best part though is he changed the song to be "Here Comes the Bride." So it was very romantic when they walked out there.
That's hilarious. But
speaking of which, my daughter, you guys know my daughter got married this weekend, right?
Congratulations.
And
now,
I was at the wedding rehearsal, right? And they said we need grandparents to line up because they're going through the procession, who's going first or whatever. And my father's dead. Thanks for bringing that up. But I asked my ex-wife's new husband, I said, "Hey, do you mind standing in for my dead dad?" And he goes, "Oh, okay," like he didn't know I was just kidding. He's the nicest guy ever. had no idea. And so after he did, I think he started realizing, wait, why am I standing in if he's not going to be here? You know, he's starting to think like he's figuring out like because they're trying to figure out the stuff or whatever. And then he came back, he goes, so your dad's not going to be here, right? I said, well, he's dead, so I wasn't planning on him being here. And he was like, yeah, okay. Like, he's just too nice a guy to, like, he's like, so you want me during the wedding? I said, no, just for the night. And just to throw him off. It was great.
He doesn't know you. Well,
here's the thing about your joking. There's something about your jokes that the tone sound exactly the same as your threats. So it's hard to tell when you're joking and when you're threatening somebody's life.
Right. That's by design.
It works. Listen, it works.
His jokes. It's like when he was on a military base with James Krause in the middle of like the Indian Ocean, right? To get on this like, he goes, they're like, hey, are you smuggling any whatever? He goes, I don't, but this guy's an international dick smuggler.
Yeah, no. I told the head security guy, he had a machine gun and everything. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he was like, sure.
Here we go.
Zach Cummings. I said, Zach over there, I said, he's been known to be part of an international cop smuggling ring. I said, so he could have 3 or 4 in his ass right now. We would have no idea. I said, so you might want to check him before he gets on the sub. And the guy's like, are you serious? And I was like, not really. Like, I don't think he's trying to smuggle dicks onto the thing, but I was like, but yeah, I got a real good talking to about that. They wouldn't let me on the military base.
Because, they're kind of on duty. And it's kind of their solemn oath to take that seriously.
Yeah. I got barred on that same trip. I got barred from one of the bases because they asked me if I had any ties to Al Qaeda or whoever, like some other, Taliban, whatever. And I was like, oh yes, I keep all that off base. I don't bring any of my terrorist activities on base. They were like, now you can't come in. And I'm like, I was just joking. He said, you can't. I said, why do you ask? No one would admit it. He goes, I guess if you ask and they say no, then it's a federal crime in addition to whatever they've done for lying to a thing. But yeah, I literally could not go on that part of the tour. I had to just sit there. Dude, and then I got in trouble on something else. But
I heard James Krause wanted to kill you. Like, I heard at first, like, they were laughing. And then by, like, day 3, he goes up to him, right? They have no idea who he is. He's 6'8" guy. He goes, hey, my name's McCorkle. What kind of steroids are you guys on?
It was awkward.
Well, it wasn't that part. It's when he started naming all the ones that they could be on, and he hit a few that they were.
Right, a few nerds.
And then they were like, hey, this guy knows too much.
The best part was when, did I tell you guys, I may have told this, I won't tell it again. So did I tell you guys about when I got in trouble because the suicide that had taken place there the few days before?
No.
They had this.
I'm sure you handled it with the greatest sensitivity.
Right. This island is called Diego Garcia. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and the British actually own it. We have a base there, but they're the police force. So this guy was telling us they found one of the soldiers had committed suicide. They thought the day before, but then they found out it was an accident. He accidentally hung himself. And I said, how do you find that out? He said, because there was an orange there that was half bitten into. And I was like, I'm sorry, what does that mean? I don't understand. He goes, well, when guys are jerking off, they'll hang themselves, like choke themselves and bite into an orange as they climax. I guess citrus makes it better or something. I don't know. Like, I can't imagine. I haven't tried it yet, but it's on my bucket list. But they said that. So we thought it was funny and odd at the same time. So the next day we're on an aircraft carrier, and one of the colonel, real gung-ho colonel, comes out, like most masculine man ever. Sorry, who wants to choke me out? I was like, dude, I don't want to hurt you. He's like, oh, nobody's going to hurt me. And I was like, I'm afraid I will literally hurt you. I'm not good at chokes like that. So James Krause agrees to choking just to where he's about to pass out and stop, because James is real good at chokes. And so we're in the cafeteria when they're doing this, and James starts to choke him, and I picked up an orange off the cart, and I said, here, bite on this, enjoy it much more. Like as he does it, and it was just silence for like 3 or 4 seconds, and I was like, and the girl, if looks could kill, the girl that was leading the tour would have murdered me 10 times right there. Laser beam looking at me, and then the whole ship erupted. Like, people started laughing, and then I got a talking to about that one too. That was the day after I got in trouble with the attack dog thing. It's a long story, but
and that was when he started explaining his jokes.
Right. I was like, because that guy died, right? But yeah, that was a good trip.
So let's talk about some.
But yeah, that was a good trip.
You guys also watched the fights over the weekend?
There were some?
Yeah, Mackenzie Dern. You watched those fights, right?
Oh, no.
I've got a policy, man. I don't watch anything where the headliner doesn't have a penis. So I don't watch that. I didn't watch Brandon Schaub's comedy special, like things like that.
What are we on? We got to be at like 6 for today. The counter's off the charts. I mean, but now here's the thing. I remember thinking to myself, were there any fights this weekend? And then when I saw it was the Mackenzie Dern fight, I was like, oh no, there weren't.
No, there weren't.
No, I'm kidding. Now there were. I thought it was old. I thought they didn't have any fights because they were up against the Fury Wilder fight.
That's literally what I thought. Yeah.
There were some fights. Mackenzie Dern actually, she's amazing at jiu-jitsu. She's world class. Like she's basically, I guess, a prodigy. Her dad was a star, and it became like a UFC 1 fight where every time it went to the ground, Dern would almost finish her, but then she decided to keep it standing and would lose the rounds that it didn't go to the ground. And I don't understand why. I know she was training with Bubba Jenkins for a while and some good wrestlers, really good wrestlers, but she seems to have got away from that because it was like she had no way to get it to the ground, which if I'm her coach, I'm shooting doubles all day. I'm doing 3 hours of double legs. That's all we're doing.
I've said that for years. Like when you got what's Hickson Gracie's son's? I can't ever remember his son that still competes. His name.
Oh, Kron Gracie.
Yeah, Kron Gracie. Like when you're as good at jiu-jitsu as him, why don't you just work takedowns? You don't even have to work your jiu-jitsu anymore. You're going to be better than anybody. Why not just work takedown after takedown? I don't understand it. But they get out there, they can't take anybody down. But if they could, they would win in 3 seconds. So it's
and I mean, it was basically she was like kind of pulling guard and trying to like do some crazy stuff to get it to the ground. I'm just like, and they're like, well, she's not really that good at wrestling. I'm like, well, you know that. So let's get her an All-American wrestling coach, and we're doing 2 hours a day on takedowns to the point where it's because if and when she does that, she's going to be unbeatable. But unfortunately, her striking was not as good as this other girl, and that was that. She ended up losing 49-46, 49-46. The round she won, she really won, but because it was on the ground.
I got to tell you, Adam, your recap of the fight kind of makes me feel better about my decision.
It wasn't a bad fight. It was exciting because you were wondering, is she going to get to the ground? But it became almost like a UFC 1 fight, or UFC 2, where you got a jiu-jitsu guy versus striker. Jared Gooden lost his fight, but could take a punch. Tim Elliott was the guy I was rooting for because he's now married to Gina, and I know Gina, and I know Tim, the nice people. He won the first, lost the second. I thought he was winning. It was one of those fights, Greg, where you're like, I thought it was pretty obvious he lost the third, but he thought he won the fight because the first 2 could have went his way, but it was like, because he had it was like 2 minutes left, and he decided to stay on the ground and just kind of try submissions from his back, and you're just like, I'll tell you who looked great was this girl Maria Akapova versus Sabina Mazo. This is a girl that is a monster. She's got, and she called out some other girl that said that she was on drugs. Basically, some girl said that like at American Top Team, she showed up.
Future champion.
I was gonna say which drugs.
Hold on. This is what to go. Hold on, Agapova. Hey, talk for a second. I'm gonna find out what this girl said because it's actually funny. Why does Agapova?
So Greg, how do you critique Brandon Schaub's stand-up comedy?
By not watching it.
You'll get more laughs that way.
So, Mara Morose. Okay, so she called out Mara Morose because this girl was talking shit on the internet, right? So Agapova is the girl who was like, I think riding a bike because she could afford a car to the gym. She was looking great. She lost her last fight, and like a huge underdog. But she basically, this other girl wrote, she was under the influence of drugs. She threatened the boys, and they threw her out of the gym because he was threatening to stab. She was threatening to stab and whatnot. This is a girl she called it afterwards. Another girl that she wants to fight. He also stalked the wife of a fighter who was pregnant. Also threatened to stab. In general, the police called her 4 times already here. He broke the doors, and that's it. Many tried to help her out of the hole that she kept climbing. He came to train after the club, I guess her boyfriend, after all these drugs. His pupils were dilated all the time. And then when the coach said, I need to be in a relationship with her, I replied that I could not work with her. She was crazy. She behaves inappropriately. She can swing her elbow to hit you and then say, oh, I'm sorry. I don't understand. And yes, they kicked her out of the gym. So that's the girl she wants to. Sounds like a good time to me.
I'm completely lost, but I think those two people should fight, whoever you're talking about.
Yeah, you lost me about. Thank you. I'm glad you also got. I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore, to be perfectly honest. But if you tell me it's UFC, I'm gonna just go, all right.
Honestly, I love it when people from Eastern Europe talk shit to each other using English because they go right to the point. But there's all these words are missed. They're like, she's stupid drug addict whore who fuck everyone.
Yeah, with a limited vocabulary, you
really just get the bullet points.
It's like when Khabib goes, what he said to Conor, send me location, I'll fight you. Like, that was like the best, send me location. When he told Conor, just send me where, and he would have showed up by himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those people from Dagestan or wherever she's from, they don't fuck around, but they're so funny when they talk because they cut out all the bullshit. She show up on drugs. Her boyfriend is a fucking psychopath. It's the best. I love it. I fucking love it.
Reminds me of Schaub's stand-up comedy. If you just finish it with "What the fuck."
So, Greg, Hector Lombard is now fighting the guy that he punched in the face. Remember that guy that came into Bear?
Yeah.
So he's fighting that guy.
When does that happen? I'm watching that. When does that happen?
I was gonna say now we're talking about some fights. Jesus Christ. Okay.
November. Hector Jr., are you gonna win this fight?
I win every fight. I win the fight this morning. The ketchup bottle, it didn't want to open because the ketchup is made by the elites who don't want the working man to have the ketchup on the egg. So I tell you, I break the bottle, and I have the ketchup, and he will be my next bottle of ketchup.
Wow. All right. So after you fight that guy, you're going to get him. Now, Don Fry, you had successful surgery in South America. We have Greg Fry to tell us what happened. Greg Fry, how was your trip to South America?
Man, good. I love that fight. I went down there. I tell you, it's weird. It's like they got a different word for everything. It's weird. I don't understand the fucking word they say down there. But they helped me out. They took the barbed wire and they put it in my mouth and they dragged it all the way to my butthole and they just kind of like they flossed me. They just flossed me real good. And, after that, I bled a little from my nose, my mouth, my dick, and my rectum. But I think that's all the best out here right now.
Wow.
I find it. Go ahead.
Sean,
I was just going to say, I find it odd that it's obvious Greg doesn't practice those all the time, but they still get better every week. Like, it gets more and more like Hector every week. It's weird.
Now, did you see Don's video, Sean?
Does he what?
Did you see the video that Don Fry posted?
No, I talked to him a little bit, but I haven't seen the video.
He's walking great. He's happy. He doesn't need a wheelchair anymore. He says they like cured him. So
they say it's amazing, man. I know. He said I've done a lot of research. I said it's even better over 6 months. Like you just get exponential results. So I'm gonna wait a few more months and see how he feels, and I may just go do it, man. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, it would be the best bet you'd make.
Yeah,
just go ahead and gamble on some stem cells instead of. That's the thing. I know you're not the only gambler I know. I know a few guys who are pretty good gamblers. It's amazing when you hear you guys talk. It's like the whole reality of the fight disappears, and it becomes about where you can make money.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't understand. The odds were fantastic. If I would have won, I would have won $17,000. It's like, yes, but there's a reason. Those odds were fantastic. Because they're like, you know what? Give us $1,000 free dollars, and if by some miracle this goes away, we'll give you $17,000 back. There's a reason those odds.
Yeah, I had a parlay this weekend because I was in Vegas. So I'm like, I had a great week. I'm like. And it was, I had 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6 came in. I feel like that's always the number. I had a 6.
Yeah.
$40 would have won me $1,500. The one that didn't come through was the Charles Rosa fight versus Damon Jackson. But this guy Romanov, he beat Jared Venera. He's the guy that was like the Olympian. The last fight he had, Greg, it was like he won by disqualification. They were both
right.
Well, he came back with a vengeance. This dude's going to be a problem for most of the people in the heavyweight division because his wrestling is that good. His striking is eh. So if it might be like a Curtis Blade situation where he has to wrestle every fight. But I'm curious. So this week, coming up, by the way, the contender this week, we have Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont is the main event this Saturday. It was supposed to be Holly Holm. Holly pulled out. Aspen Ladd is a girl who's 9-1, but I guess 0-4 against the scale. She missed weight by like 4 pounds.
Oh, Jesus.
And said it was her period because of her period, which I'm sure is possible. But she's 9-1 fighting Norma Dumont, who's 6-1. Who do we like at this fight, guys?
I think it's amazing that a woman is using like her period as an excuse for something else, like instead of like, you know what I mean? Like, well, sorry, I stole all your money. It's my period. But I would say when Ladd and Wuhan are fighting, or Dumont or whoever, like that's when you know you gotta check it out. Like I'm gonna set my DVR because those two huge names main event, especially being women.
I said I wrote a tweet like big deal. Dominic Cruz fought on his period, 19 times.
Oh shit! Right.
I sent it to Dominic. He retweeted it because he knows how much. Yeah, because he actually liked that. He's a really funny guy.
Okay. Why
some
is
people would even say a funny boy? Oh, I don't know. Sorry. I said some people would even call him a funny boy. Sorry.
No, he's a funny guy. He just happens to be like an uptight, like a guy who's annoyed by the whole world. But he's that way to everybody. He's just like an uptight guy who just doesn't like people, which is why I like him. He's just that's him. That's yeah. So
when I look at this headlining match, I just wonder. Okay, so what other event is going on this weekend that is making us see this? This is just like is Wilder and Fury fighting again?
No, there's some good ones. Andre Arlovski.
I know, but why isn't the Arlovski fight the headliner? I mean, at least you got a little name value there. It's a heavyweight fight. There'll probably be a knockout. I mean, do we really need 5 rounds of Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont? Are you fucking with me, man?
The world's been calling for it for years.
Yeah, like finally Aspen Ladd versus. I'm
by
sorry.
The way,
when Holly Holm backs out, this is no longer a headliner fight. She was the headliner. She's not in the fight. This thing gets demoted. This is pure silliness. What are we doing, guys?
By the way, Greg, I had to not defend you, but I had to say. So last week we had Pat on the
Militich, yeah.
On the podcast, and he said that he heard that you were trashing him after he got off. I explained that you did not trash him. All you did was say, if he's not a Trump supporter, why go to the rally? And that you wanted to ask the question. And that you then maybe trashed some of the people that stormed the Capitol, but you didn't trash him at all.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, correct?
Yeah. I mean, that was my one thing. That was the one question I wanted to ask him, but I felt like it had already been covered because I was there late and I didn't want to, come in and repeat something that had already been said. So I didn't ask that question. That was it. That was my one question about it.
Sounds like Greg needs to start working on a Militich impression to start doing, and then we can
we did not
battle Hector.
We did not trash Pat Militich at all.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, that got taken out of context 100%. So also Julian Marquez, who's a great guy. He's the one that was working at Top Golf.
Hey, wait a minute. By the way, if you spoke to him about it, what was his answer then to that question?
He goes, thanks for clarifying. No, he didn't answer the question. He just hit me up on. He goes, somebody told me that your co-host was saying rotten things about me. I said, no, not at all. He wasn't saying rotten things at all. He just had a question. And he was saying rotten things about people who stormed the Capitol building.
I think Pat and Greg would really get along. Honestly, I really do. I think they really like each other, other than politically. But I mean, like as people, I think they both like each other.
Let's talk about the Raiders, by the way, because look, as much as like John Gooden should not have said those things, right?
John Goodman, John Gruden.
John Gooden? Is it John
Gruden? You said John Goodman.
John Goodman.
Yeah.
But he was King Ralph. But don't you think that emails, like, what are we doing here? Like, wasn't it a private email? He sent someone just like, fired. Come on. That seems
a private email from 10 years ago. like no less. Like it just, and I'm sure he was just joking with a friend of his. I tell you what, if everyone in the world who ever said queer referring to a gay guy, if you had ever said it, thought of anything, you should resign too. Like everybody in the world, no one's going to have a job if every single thing is politically incorrect.
What kind of
your
friends,
history is fair game.
What kind of friends does he have that are like sending these emails to the press?
Saving them for 10 years.
I mean, is his phone hacked? Or his computer got hacked? Did he sell a laptop that had old emails on it? Like, why would that person do that? Greg?
Well, and that is the question. I mean, these are emails that are sent to, I guess, the president of which, by the way, at that time, the Washington Redskins. So I love that the guy who worked for the Redskins is calling the other guy a racist. That to me is like, are we not seeing the irony here? Is there not anyone aware of the fact that the guy from the Redskins who didn't want to change the name is outing the other guy as a racist? Like, oh my God. Okay, I give up. That's why I'm like, don't be famous, man. Fame is ruined. Fame is toxic. You don't want that. It's a waste.
It just seems like people that are going around like sending emails to the press going, fire this guy, he made this comment. It's like, come on, dude. Like,
and it's all out of context. And I'm not trying to defend what he said, but it's just like, maybe he was kidding. Maybe this is a guy and this is the kind of jokes they make. You know, we don't know the relationship. And he thought, I'm just kidding. I could tell it to this guy. I mean, he runs the Redskins. I feel like, again, not that I'm defending the material or anything else. I'm just saying that, these were private emails that he obviously thought he was joking with. So, everyone has said inappropriate shit at some point. That's the other thing. Everyone thinks they're so above reproach.
Right.
And it's like, everybody has got some shit back there that can be taken out of context. And now your life is ruined. And this is just the world we live in. It's like everyone's sitting on a ticking time bomb of their past. I feel like the internet, can we just flush it and just start over?
Do you think he should be fired for this?
I think he should have resigned, and he did resign. So, that's what should have happened. Because he's lost the faith of his players. There's no way those guys want to play for him anymore.
Really?
I mean, you're talking, yeah.
For what did he say? He said we shouldn't be a female. What exactly did he say?
Well, he called someone a pussy, which I guess is the end of the world.
He called the commissioner of the league, Roger Goodell, an F-bomb, the gay F-bomb.
Yeah.
And then, which is a word that, we used to use all the time.
Right.
Who's not gay, by the way. It isn't like you say it to a gay guy.
But he was saying it and saying that he was anti-football and a pussy. And then the Maurice, whatever, the guy, the head of the NFLPA, he made talking about his big lips, saying that they were the size of Michelin tires. That's what he said. Oh. And yeah. And it's like the problem you have there is, you got a 53-man roster, 51 of them are going to take that very personally. So, and then the other one is the gay player. Two of his white players, one's the gay guy. So, I mean, he's pretty much, when you alienate your team, you can't lead them anymore. They're not going to play hard for you. I think he knew that. I think, the writing was on the wall in that regard. And so he did the right thing and resigned. But, I mean, it's just that's the thing. Everything we've ever done now comes under review the second you get famous. And it's like, look, these are jokes maybe that I made to somebody personally. I didn't say them. I didn't go out there and, so who knows? I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. I'm not justifying what he said. I'm not, but this is the world we live in. And I don't think, and that's the thing is I don't think anybody who's accusing me of anything, if they come under the microscope the same way, would survive it either. Every single person has something back there that even you probably forgot about it. You think you're so, above reproach. Oh yeah, someo's got something. I bet somebody does. It's just nobody gives a shit about you yet.
The funniest is like when you're watching a baseball.
Which is my problem.
Yes, you've tried real hard, McCorkle, real hard to get canceled, and nobody gives a shit.
No one cares. I do have a question for you guys, and I'm being serious. Maybe you can explain it to me. You know how like Bill Burr has the whole skit or bit, "What a Fag," like that's what it's titled. Not only is that still on YouTube, he's never been canceled for saying that. It's the most homophobic thing of all time. Then you got like Dr. Dre, who got honored by USC for giving them $1 million or whatever. He has said the most terrible thing about homosexuals you've ever heard in your life is rap songs. He's never apologized. He's never gone back. So, like, what is it? Certain people say with Snoop Dogg, you're just immune to it. You can just do whatever you want. How about Howard Stern? Howard Stern's on TV judging talent now, which is ironic. But Howard Stern has said and done the most horrific things about women, about gays, about anything. He had Gary the retard on that. You know what I mean? Or whatever he called that guy.
I think the only way to do it is if you don't apologize. I think
absolutely.
And if you have your own and if you have your own fan base, like Adam Carolla is a perfect example of somebody who says like all kinds of stuff. He's like, what are you gonna do? My subscribers are not gonna abandon me. So and I'm not on any network. So that's really the only way to kind of be above it all.
And then they leave you alone. If you want to apologize, they leave you alone. They're just like, okay, next day.
The funniest is when you're watching a baseball game, though, like in the second inning, like an older guy will be like, yeah, you know, that guy. And like some guy like made like a 40 acres and a mule comment. And then like in the 8th inning, he goes back on, recently in the second inning, I made it.
You didn't get the finish of the game.
That's the other thing. I mean, when you represent a corporate entity, then there's a problem, and because you're reflecting poorly for them, they can't endorse that kind of behavior, so somebody's got to go. That's what that becomes. When you're an individual artist who has his own fan base and creates his own stuff, then then you don't necessarily have to kowtow the same way, and that's why when you look at these specials that they put on Netflix, and you're like, this isn't that funny. Well, again, it isn't about funny anymore. It's about who's an unassailable voice. Who's a voice that we can put on there and be like, look at us. Look what we did. We're all the right people. We love everybody. And so they're not going to put somebody on there that's going to put their brand at risk. And I understand that. That's business.
If they do it, someone as big as Dave Chappelle, well, they'll know they're going to get millions and millions of people.
Right.
There was, by the way, Norm Macdonald was the funniest though. When Norm made, I think it was during the Me Too thing, he made a couple comments, and then he went on Howard Stern to apologize, and he's like, "Man, you'd have to have Down syndrome to not get that joke." And he kept saying Down syndrome and then he had to apologize to the people who had
totally.
Yeah, he said he wasn't allowed to say retard anymore, so he started saying Down syndrome like replace it. He knew what he was doing though. He could play dumb all you want to know.
That was to me the funniest. Then he had to apologize to people who went down.
Well, you know what he got in trouble? I'm sure you guys know what he got in trouble for. He said that Louis C.K. should talk to, or Roseanne should talk to Louis C.K. because he knows what it's like to have your career ended in 10 minutes, or whatever. And the interviewer's like, well, what about the victims? And he was like, well, of course, they've been through far worse. What I'm saying is they haven't been through that. Like, they didn't have their career ended in 10 minutes. He goes, I wasn't saying it was worse. And they're like, oh, my God. He says that it's worse to be canceled online than it is to be sexually assaulted,
Oh, yeah, no.
So
I love it, though, when apologies are more offensive than the actual thing.
That's always my goal.
Even like the baby made that those horrible statements about people with AIDS, and then his apology was like, I'm not talking about the dirty people with AIDS. He's like, my fans aren't doing he goes, my fans. He goes, they're the clean AIDS people. It was something that was like, dude, I'm watching this with my wife, and she goes, why are we giving these people microphones? Like, why are these are not? But that was the thing. Like back in the day, you could make comments as a rapper, and you'd make these the most outlandish shit, but it wouldn't get around because there wasn't internet or social media. So you can keep saying horrible things, but by the time it got to it, didn't matter. Now, if someone says something like, bam, it's over. It's like 3 seconds later, it's right in front of you.
I'm pretty sure social media has destroyed America.
You think so?
Yeah.
Dude, all joking aside, it's not been good. It
really hasn't. It's so toxic. And people just say the worst things they would never say in person. I just think that the great experiment needs to be shut down in terms of social media. I think either regulate it or shut it down, because I think a lot more damage has been done than good has been achieved.
When I was in China, right? China, they regulate all social media. Like there's no Facebook in China, no Instagram, whatever. So girls make all this money live streaming shows, right? So what happened was in the beginning, girls were making money. They get tipped. It's called like WeChat. So at first they were putting showing their tits, this and that. The government put that, whatever. You can't do that anymore, right? So then they were eating bananas slowly, and people were then tipping them. Then they go, you can't eat bananas anymore slowly. That was a rule. You could not eat fruit in slow motion. So then next thing I know, they're at my comedy show, and the girls broadcasting it to 95,000 people because they didn't know that was okay, I guess. But that's basically the government does that. They censor. They're all around, but they're getting around it. Of course, they go through whatever it's called, and then they get on the, All right, fights.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, I need to slowly eat a banana during this podcast.
If you want Bruce Buffer to tune in, you do.
I knew that was coming. I did not know that was coming, but I knew something was coming. And probably Bruce Buffer.
That's what I was going to say earlier.
Listen, all I know is next week, tune in to watch me eat a banana.
So Julian Marquez is taking on Jordan Wright. Julian Marquez is the guy that I met when he was in LFA in Missouri, for his whole family. They call him the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then he got like Top Golf for a while. He's been knocking people out. He's 9-2. Doesn't look like a fighter. He's got a podcast with Kendra Lust, I think her name is. Super hot porn star. And after his last fight, he called out Miley Cyrus for a date. Remember? He was like, Miley Cyrus, Valentine. And Miley responded. She said, just shave your chest hair into an MC and I'll go on a date with you. And he refused to do it. He's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, that was.
He does. I mean, he is one of those rare fighters that doesn't shave his body hair. And it's so funny because when you watch these fights, you don't really think about the fact that they don't have body hair until they're up against a guy with body hair. And they're like, well, that's fucking weird.
So he's fighting a guy, Jordan Wright. They call him the Beverly Hills Ninja because he's a karate guy from Beverly Hills. Also does not look like a fighter, but he's 12-1.
Fully shaved.
Fully shaved.
So the one guy is a karate guy from Beverly Hills. They call him Beverly Hills Ninja. The other guy is Cuban Missile Crisis. So where is he from and what does he do? A lot.
Also, Bellator this week. Another secret event they're having. They're having Vadim Nemkov, who is the champion, badass light heavyweight. He's fighting Julius Angelikas, who stepped in because Anthony Johnson got hurt. We don't know what's wrong with Anthony Johnson, but he's in the hospital. It seems like he's got some serious problems. Do you think that could happen from the – what do you think? Do you know anything about that, Sean? What's wrong with him?
I hadn't even heard anything about it. I know he's a super nice guy, man. I was talking to him one time at a fight in Miami. He thought I was trying to make fun of him, and it got really awkward. Like, he thought I was – because I was like I saw him and said, dude, you are massive. And I didn't mean because he had missed weight a bunch. I didn't mean he was fat. He's, like, ripped. And I said, did you ever actually make 170? He's like, yeah, funny, man. I was like, no, seriously, did you ever actually make it? Because I guess he had just missed it like 3 times. But I was actually – he had ever made 170 at his size. Like, I was just like, how in the world? But I just kept saying, dude, I actually want to know if you ever made 170. He's like, yeah, I got it the first time. I was like, if this is a joke, I'd explain it to you. But,
yeah. Well, I hope he's all right. I like Anthony Johnson. Also, Ryan Bader.
You always know how to ask the questions people really want to hear.
Also, Ryan Bader taking on Corey Anderson. That should be a good fight, a really good fight. Ryan Bader was the heavyweight champion and the 205 champion. And Corey Anderson's a guy who came from the UFC who like would win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Ben Henderson taking on Brent Primus. That should be a good fight. Ben Henderson's still the man. Henry Corrales is taking on Vladislav Parushchenko. So, yeah, that's all going down Saturday.
So Bellator's basically putting together the same card as Ultimate Fight Night 25 in 2004.
That sounds right.
Sure every one of those guys fought 15 years ago in the UFC.
Yeah, Benson Henderson, Brian Bader.
Bare knuckle boxing. Joe Rigg knocked out Melvin Gillard in 48 seconds. Knocked him through the ropes.
Are they even close to the same size? I don't think they're even close, are they?
Melvin Gillard did not look like he trained very hard for this fight. And at first I thought he took a dive, but he broke like his orbital in like 3 different places. Joe Riggs hits that hard in bare knuckle boxing. So he knocked him out of the ring. And Riggs looks
That's what you want. That's what you want a week after someone dies, bare knuckle boxing. You want someone to get knocked out of the ring right after.
Somebody died in bare knuckle boxing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My friend, it's a guy I'm friends with, he fought a dude, and he died a week later. Like, I guess just from, I don't know from what, but I'm sure it didn't help that he left there in a stretcher, went into a coma. So I assume it was from the fight. But Man, that's tough. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I was on board bare knuckle boxing.
I was going to say, it almost seems like there's a reason they didn't allow bare knuckle boxing before.
One of the problems is that guy who died was had an 8-18 record. Melvin Gillard has lost 9 in a row. They keep putting on Crazy Horse, who's now going by Felony, who lost 14 in a row. They got to stop with these guys, even if they have names.
Yeah, but it's going to be really great when his nickname becomes Parole. That's when he's really going to have his best fights.
He loves to. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He'll post a video of a bunch of black people doing something crazy, and he'll just put white people, shake my head. It's the funniest thing ever. Like, he always blames a different race.
He's also he also is in love with Angela Hill, and he's always like, Angela Hill, I want to eat your asshole. Like, just saying the most fucked up things. But she's doesn't even respond to any of it. And plus, she's married. It's horrible.
They don't call you Felony Charles Bennett because you're a karate guy from Beverly Hills. Say that.
What do you got, Greg? What do you got coming up?
I don't know. Oh, Wednesday night, Supernova here in Hollywood. The hot show in Hollywood. Join me Wednesday night for that, and I don't remember the rest. So that's what's up.
Anything, McCorkle? Anything coming up?
No, I'm building a massive dog kennel though for my puppy mill, and so it's like as big as a 3-car garage, and I'm just doing it off YouTube videos. So I'm sure it'll end up wonderful at the end of the day.
I'm sure.
I know. Yeah, I know a little bit about framing and carpentry and stuff, but it's amazing as you get into building something that in depth. You're like, I wonder if I should have reinforced that. And start I don't know. It's interesting.
What can go wrong? Next week, I will be in Lansing, Michigan at the Funny is Funny Comedy Club, the 20th to the 24th. Thank you guys so much. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
See you, man.